Oh, hi there. Welcome to That Board Game Show. My name is James Wood, and today I'm going to show you The Deadeye, an adventure card game for one player.
It hangs in deep space, on the outer rim of the coal planets, at the very edge of the trade routes. An energy-rich anomaly known as the Deadeye. Surrounded by a howling vortex of toxite and electrostatic chaos. A potential goldmine for daring or foolish thermo-pirates.
Storage bats at capacity. We have a full load, Captain. Preparing to blast off. Extreme grav flare! Navigation and backup systems failing. The bruise has us. Emergency! Ship locked in terminal rotation. Jettisoning all thermo batteries.
Another thermo downed by the suck. Might have charts. Better move. Other eyes on the sky here.
Buckle up your Rad Suit, fire up the rig, beware the tox. The Deadeye is an adventure card game for one player. Assume the role of a lone thermo-bandit downed on a hostile backwater planet. Your mission? Find the next safe haven before you lose all hope and strength, and maybe, just maybe, find a way off this desolate rock. Face dangerous encounters, salvage useful parts, and reach further. The Deadeye is played over a series of runs. The object of a run is to reach the next safe haven. The object of the game is to successfully reach the final safe haven and escape the Deadeye before your reserves run out. You'll notice these stereoscopic 3D glasses off to the side here. That's because this game is very unique in that it uses stereoscopic 3D to make the cards really come out at you. And I've been informed by the publisher that in fact if you have some of these blue and red tinted glasses at home, you can put them on and watch the video with them, and you'll actually see a bit of that 3D effect, especially on the close-up shots. And it really just adds an extra fascinating layer to the game whereby the cards really come alive and you get the sense of depth and immersion that simply isn't there in other games. For right now though, I'm going to just set these aside because it's going to be a bit tricky with all the lights and the cameras and things for me to see what I'm doing clearly with them on. So I'm just going to set them off to the side here. Leave them in frame so that we can remember that they're there. And the first thing you do in the Deadeye, after the initial setup, is we'll look over at this gameplay card over here, which reminds us of the sequence of play as we go through the game. So step 1 is unlock a destination. Step 2, face a new encounter. Step 3, resolve the encounter. Then, when you reach a safe haven, you have succeeded in the run. Should you at any time run out of hope or strength, you have lost immediately and the game is over. So let's go over those steps one by one and you'll see how they play out. So the first thing we'll do is look at our gameplay reference card over here and unlock a destination. We'll look at the top of the destination deck and we will draw the top card and read its effect. In this case it says Soul Flare could mean only one thing. Captain misjudged the suck. Ominous. And the requirement for this card is no distance in the distance stack. So at the start of the game, this is the distance stack over here. That's where we will collect distance cards, which you'll see as we go. Right now, they're on none, and this is just getting us started. So this is the first location we're going to be traveling towards. So we flip that over, and it is a wreck. Nav charts could point a way through. So now this is an item, potentially, that we can pick up, and we'll place this up here in the target zone. And we'll be collecting cards from the location deck and adding them to here as we meet the requirements. So now that we've unlocked a destination, we'll check the next one and see if we unlock it. In this case, we need further than 2 distance traveled. So we have to have at least 2 distance cards in the distance stack over here. And you'll see how we get those momentarily. So now the premise here, the general idea is that we are racing across this desert planet towards a wreck. We've seen a spaceship come plummeting out of the sky and crash onto this planet. And now we are racing to that wreck to try and salvage whatever parts we can from it, in order to bolt them onto our rig, which is like a big Mad Max style truck, car, off-road monster thing. And we are hurtling across this desert planet as fast as we can to get to the rig before the other scavengers on this planet beat us to it. So the next thing we do after checking the location deck, we now face a new encounter. How do you face an encounter? Well, we've got this deck of cards. There are 14 cards here, and you hold them in your hand like so. And to face a new encounter, simply draw the top card of the deck. We draw that card and we place it here in this encounter slot. We now face that encounter and we have a decision to make. But before we can make our decision, we check our step 3 over here, resolve the outcome. So first we check for a bad outcome. We see if something bad happens. And how we determine if something bad happens is if we have built up any heat on this side of the board. So you'll see at the top of these cards, they've got this little symbol over there. That symbol on this particular card is juice. And juice can build up on the right-hand side over here. And heat, you'll have other cards with this little gear symbol, will build up on this side of the card. So if I flip this card over, and I already had 1 heat over here, I would resolve the bad outcome of this card. If I had built up enough juice on this side, I would resolve the good outcome. And what happens with each card depends on whether a good or bad outcome transpires. Now I have a choice. I can either press on or evade this encounter. So this encounter is a refinery. Once there was something called oil. So there's an old, derelict, completely abandoned refinery off in the distance. And I should also add, this entire game is designed, the layout of the cards and everything, from a sort of first-person view perspective, which again is really enhanced by wearing these 3D glasses. So everything is drawn and designed from a first person. It's meant to be like you're sitting in your rig driving across this planet. So now off in the distance, I see a refinery. Now I can either evade that refinery, I can pass it by, or I can go investigate. And I'm going to evade this location. So I'm going to flip it onto its side and move it over to the right. So now I'm building up a little reserve of juice over here. So hopefully the next card I draw, I'm more likely to succeed at. So now that I have evaded that card, we start the whole process again. So we unlock a destination if we can. We haven't built up enough distance, so we can't yet. Now we can face an encounter, and we have 2 choices when facing an encounter. We can either draw a card from the top of the deck, or we can potentially pull down one of these cards in the target zone. But in order to do that, we have to have distance built up to meet this target over here. So at the moment, I have 0 distance built up, so I can't interact with the wreck just yet. It's still too far off in the distance. I haven't reached it. So I'm going to draw the next card from the deck, and I'm going to place it over there. And now you see there's a heat. In this case, it's a Vig. They only hurt bad people. To them, you are bad people. Okay, so to them, everyone is bad people, and they hurt all of you. Now again, we have a choice. We can evade this robot. We can swerve away and run away from it. In which case, we would flip it onto the side and put it over there, building up some heat, so we're more likely to fail the next card. Or, if I choose to leave it here, I can press on and try and defeat this card, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to press on. And again, we just roll through the cycle. So every turn, every single turn, we're just going to be rolling through the cycle, unlock a destination, face a new encounter, or resolve the outcome. I'm going to press on, and I'm going to draw a new card. And now the card I draw, because there's already one in this encounter slot, will automatically go either to the heat side or the juice side, depending on what it is. So we'll draw a card, and there's a heat. Oh dear. So we are building up some heat. We basically ignore everything on that card, except for the symbol at the top, as long as we are facing another encounter. So now, once again, I've got a choice to make. Do I evade this big robot, or do I press on? And now I can start delving on some of that information I have from setup. And what that tells me is I've got 14 cards in the starting deck. And of those 14 cards, there are 6 juice cards, there are 6 heat cards, and then there are 2 special event cards. And you'll see how those resolve when they crop up. So now I have a bit of information. I know that I've already drawn 2 of the heat cards that are in the deck. So that means there are 4 heat left in here, and there are 5 juice. So it's still very likely that I draw another heat and fail at this card, but I'm slightly more likely to draw a juice. So I think I'm going to press on, and we'll see what happens. Draw a card, and there's one of those special events right away. Okay, so this is a rest. Hidden from view, time for repair. So we can go hide behind a big rock somewhere, shelter ourselves from the weather and the other things on this planet. And we can activate all parts. Now, as we proceed through the game, we'll collect parts down here, which will bolt onto our rig. And we can use this rest card to activate those parts, because as we go, we'll be using them for various benefits. Right now, however, I have no parts, so that's a pretty rubbish time to draw this card. But it gives you an option. Unless your draw deck is empty, you may instead lose hope to postpone this event. So postponing an event means you pick it up and you tuck it at the bottom of your deck. So you then know what's coming. So you can kind of stack your deck, and as long as you can remember what you've put at the bottom, you can make very informed decisions about what you do going forward. So I'm actually going to do that. And what it means to lose hope is I take one of these hope cards, I flip it face up, and I put it in my discard pile over here. If ever I need to discard a hope or strength card and I cannot, I will lose the game. And at the start of the game, there are 5 cards in each deck. So I need to be careful. I need to be very, very careful about discarding these too quickly. But now there's a benefit to this. So this is a little bit of a deck building element that comes in. So when my draw deck runs out, I'll pick up my discard pile, shuffle it, and keep going. And now I know that all hope cards are juice. They all have juice at the top. And all strength cards have heat at the top. So sometimes you can willfully fail a card in order to discard these hope cards and put them in the deck, because now you're building up juice cards which can help you in the future. So there's quite a lot of little strategic elements to keep in mind with this. So now I've discarded that hope card. I'll postpone this rest event. So I see a good spot to rest, and I figure, you know what, I'll come back there. I'm not ready to rest just yet. It's right, first thing in the morning, I'm still rearing to go. So I'll just take note of where that location is, and I will tuck it at the bottom of my deck. So we choose to either evade or press on with this encounter. I'm going to keep on pressing on, and we're going to draw a card, and there's a heat. Oh, bothersome. Right, so that gets added over there. Now, we go through the resolve an outcome steps, and we resolve a bad outcome. So we've built up 2 heat over here. We've pushed our rig a little bit too hard, and this Vidge robot catches up with us and takes a swipe at our rig, and we will now resolve these effects top to bottom. So first we discard the 2 heat that have built up over here. We take those, we put them in the discard pile. We then discard 1 hope over here, discard that, add in more juice into our deck, so that can be helpful, but getting us closer to losing. And if we had an item in our rig, then that would break. So this robot would come along, smack our rig, and something would break off it. Fortunately though, this was quite a good time to actually fail at this, because we have nothing to break. And then lastly, after resolving it, this encounter goes away. We discard that because we didn't defeat the massive robot. The massive robot defeated us. But now we have some more information. We now know that there are 3 heat cards in the deck, and we've only drawn 1 juice. So our chances of succeeding at an encounter are gradually increasing. So now let's press on, and I'll draw a new encounter, and it goes straight into the encounter slot. There's no choice when the encounter slot is empty. And we encounter a bot, a tiny little bot, a dark reminder from the singularity. That sounds ominous. We check for a bad outcome, nothing bad happens. Now we check for a good outcome, and look at that. We've got 1 juice, and we need 1 juice, and so now we have a good outcome. Just like when that bad outcome resolved, we look at this symbol here, which tells us to discard 1 juice. So we discard the juice that we had built up on the side there. And now we can add this bot to our rig. That's what this little spanner symbol over here means. To add an item to your rig, you simply take it from the encounter slot, turn it on its side, and add it to your rig down here. And now we have this item which can potentially help us in the future, but not just yet, because as you see, it comes in exhausted. So we find it, but it still needs a little bit of time and repair to get it working. And that's where that rest card that we buried at the bottom of our deck will come in. So if we can build up a few items in our rig before we resolve that, that could be very helpful. And these are all very useful things. Now there's one disadvantage to this, is we have now removed a juice card from our deck. So that's not so great. But we've discarded a couple hope, so we've kind of evened the scales there. So let's pop that over to the side on our rig, and we'll keep going. We still don't have any distance built up, so we can't travel to the wreck and we can't move to the next location. So I should probably focus on trying to get some cards with this distance symbol. So drawing the next card, we have tracks. Okay. So now I can press on and try to defeat this, which means I'll get +2 into the distance stack over here. If I succeed, that's what this symbol over here means. If I fail at it, I'm going to discard 2 hope, so I'd be kind of playing with fire. I'd be burning through that hope deck a bit too fast. So that will help me to work towards these objectives. But it will put a juice over here in the distance stack. And that's not necessarily a good thing, because it's removing a juice card from my deck. So you know what? I think for this instance, I'm going to evade that one. I'm going to hope I draw a heat card that provides some distance. So I'm going to evade that, put it over there. Oh, I didn't look at what it is. What are tracks? Shadow path, maybe dead-end mirage. Okay, so I think it's a dead-end mirage, and I'm going to evade it, just like so. And I'm going to draw another card. And I draw Tox. Oh dear. Toss in fire, malevolent portent. So I'm going to lose strength unless my draw deck is empty, which it is not. You may instead lose juice to postpone this event. Lose juice means I would discard a juice card that I've built up. So if I had no juice card here, I couldn't do that. But also that just postpones it, so it's going to happen eventually. So I think right now, I'll let that happen. So I'll discard 1 strength card, take that, flip it face up, put it in the discard pile. And that is now another card to encounter. A tomb will show up in the future. Ooh, isn't that ominous? Rather appropriate considering. And now we discard this Tox card, and that goes over there. And we press on. Let's face a new encounter. And we have skins. Oh dear. Hellbent in leather. Okay, some biker gang type thugs are chasing me down, it would seem. Let's see, I can try and defeat that. I think I won't do that. I'm going to evade this as well. Even though I think my chances of defeating it are quite good, my chances of failing it are very good because it only needs 1 heat to fail. And I don't want to be pulling too many juice cards out of my deck. So I'm going to evade that, plop it over there, flip over a new card, and we have the tower. You can see or fall a long way from the top. Okay, so I see a tower off in the distance. Now, I have a very interesting choice to make because I've built up 2 juice already. And this will require 3 heat to fail. So I'm pretty much guaranteed with the cards that are left here, remembering that I know that this bottom one is that event. So I'm going to press on. Even though I'm going to lose a juice out of my deck, I think this is a good one to have. So I'm going to press on here, and I'm going to flip over the top card, and there's another juice. There it is. So I pop that over there, which means check for a bad outcome, nothing bad happens. Check for a good outcome, something very good happens. So these 3 juice cards get discarded. We pop those in the discard pile. We successfully climb to the top of the tower, and we get a good view of our surroundings. And we can now add that over here, move that over, to our distance stack. We now have 5 distance. So now we refer to our gameplay card over here, and we see unlock a destination, and we now have more than 2 distance in the distance stack. So we pick up this location card. Satnav was missing heat trail from the wreck. Suggests scav mischief. Outpost can't be far. So we can add this location there, and there it is. There is an outpost off in the distance. And now, if we look at this next card in the distance stack, we can see that it says that the map has to be in the rig. And the map is this item up over here. So now we need to face that encounter. I can make some fairly educated guesses that I will succeed at that encounter. So in order to keep moving through this location deck, I'm going to grab that because we now have 5 distance in the distance stack. So instead of drawing a card from the top of the deck to face a new encounter, I'm going to encounter the wreck. I finally traveled far enough. Climbing up to the top of that tower showed me, oh, the wreck is actually closer than I thought. So now I can encounter the wreck. You'll see that there is no possible bad outcome in this one. So it's just a derelict wreck. There's plenty of time, there's no threat. But what will happen is any heat I draw while encountering this will just build up, and potentially make the next card I need to encounter a little bit more difficult. Draw a card, and there's a heat. Okay. And we just keep going. I want to resolve this as quickly as possible. There's another heat. My goodness gracious me. Okay, I'm pretty sure those are the last heat in the deck. And I was wrong. There is the last heat in the deck. Wow. Okay, that is a lot of heat building up over there. Now I know that this is a rest, which is unfortunate. I would have liked to have had this map in my rig before drawing the rest, but oh well. So that goes over there. I can now activate all parts. So I activate that, turn it back on, and now I have access to using this part, which is a las. I can use las to lose heat, which is very useful. So what that means is I can exhaust this item, boop, and discard a heat from the stack over here. Right now, though, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave that active. I'm going to discard that rest card, and now you'll see I have no deck in my hand. So now, to continue playing, I pick up my discard pile, and I keep going. Now again, I could choose to evade this. I don't have to just keep pressing on and on and on, fighting against it. But I think I want to. I want to get this map in my rig so that we can unlock that next destination. Might be rather foolhardy, but we shall see. So now, I will draw a new card, and my word, it is more heat. Wowzers. Okay, I'm pretty much guaranteed to fail the next encounter I have, because that is a lot of heat. Let's keep going. More heat. Oh my word. Yo, I am just burning heat. Looking for this wreck. My goodness. You know what's happened here? I left my engine running. So I've parked my rig outside the wreck, and while I'm hunting around, it's just idling. I forgot to turn it off, didn't I? Oh dear. So it's just burning itself to a crisp outside while I rummage around looking for a map. Okay, well, let's see if we can, there we go, finally find something useful. So there's one of the 2 juice I need. Now, here is one of those strength cards we had to discard earlier. So because I know that all these cards are heat, I could use that information to decide if I'm going to evade or press on. Right now, I'm just going to keep pressing on because there's no bad outcome that can happen while my rig just burns through fuel sitting outside waiting for me to find this jolly map. It is taking a long time to find this map in this wreck. My goodness. Okay, let's keep going. Finally, there is the second juice I need. I'm going to be in for a run of really bad stuff happening soon. Okay, so I discard these 2 juice, pop them in the discard pile. I add the wreck into my rig. Remember, you always add them exhausted. Before moving on to the next encounter, I unlock a destination and I see the map is now in my rig. So I can look at this card. Hugging the edge of the maelstrom, a short respite. Okay, so now I can flip that over. And there is our first safe haven. So if I can reach this card, which has a distance cost of 9, I need to build up a bunch more distance in the distance stack, and then I need to encounter this card and succeed at it. At which point I would then add this card to the distance stack over here, and that would be the first of 3 safe havens. Once I reach that, that is technically the end of the run, and you will save the game and proceed. So that will get added to our target zone up at the top. And now I have a very distinct focus. I need to build up my distance so that I can travel there. You'll see that this outpost over here is purely optional. I don't have to encounter that. In this instance, I needed to encounter this one because I needed to get the map. But I don't have to have the nav. That is just a potentially helpful optional item that I can pick up. So right now, sadly, I can't encounter that. Even if I could, I wouldn't want to, because if I encountered that, I would be instantly failing it because of all the heat that I've built up. So now I need to try burn through some of this heat, which is going to happen pretty rapidly as I fail at the upcoming encounters. What I can do is use my bot, so I can exhaust that, use my little bot, send it out to do some repairs on my rig, and I can discard one of these heat and put it back into the discard pile over there. Okay, next card. So we'll draw an encounter. Bloop. This is melt. Oh dear. So that is distance, which would have been very nice to add, but not going to happen. A blistering tar. Oh my goodness. Okay, my rig gets stuck in some blistering tar. I discard one of these heat that have built up. I discard a hope. So that's a good and a bad thing because it's adding juice to my deck, but it's diminishing my hope supplies, which are now down to 2. And I discard this card. I cannot continue engaging with it. And we press on. So I could choose to engage that outpost, but if I did, instant fail and I would lose a hope. We really don't want to do that. So pressing on, draw a new encounter, and it's Tox. Oh dear. So lose strength unless your draw deck is empty. You may instead lose juice to postpone this event. I have no juice built up, so I don't even have that option. So we will discard a strength, adding more heat into my discard pile. We'll discard the Tox, and we will keep going. Pressing on, draw, hang. Floating steel, a risky shadow. Okay, so that is also an instant fail, because we have way more than 3 heat built up. So plowing after that wreck probably wasn't such a great idea. I should have built up my juice first, but oh well, we live and learn. So now I resolve this negative outcome. First, I discard 1 heat over there. Then I postpone 2 heat, because that now adds these 2 heat cards to the bottom of my deck. Boom. So at least I know when they're coming. Now I need to discard either an item from my rig or a distance from the distance stack. And that's because there's this little slash line on this card. If there wasn't that slash line there, I'd have to discard both. But now I've got a choice to make. I can either discard this distance, which is going to lose me 5 distance, which I need to get to the safe haven, but it will put a juice back in my deck, or I lose one of my useful items. Right now, I am going to discard the item. I'm going to lose this bot, because again, it's putting more juice back in the deck, so that's not too bad. And while it's a useful item, it's not essential. This distance is absolutely pivotal. I have to have that distance built up. So now that that bad effect has been resolved, we discard that card, and we keep going. Draw another card. It is a bug. Okay, we have a choice to make again. We can evade or encounter because there isn't an immediate negative outcome. That would lose us strength. You know what? I'm just going to press on. I'm going to try and defeat this if I can. And I draw a rest. Hidden from view, time for repair. Okay, I could discard a hope to postpone that event. I'm not going to. I'm just going to activate my map over here. And then in the future, I can use the map to discard the top card of the draw deck. That could come in very handy if you know what's coming. So we'll discard that. It's done its job. We've had a nice rest hiding behind a rock somewhere. And now we're ready to press on to a new day. Draw a new card. There is a juice. Huzzah! And because I know that all hope cards are juice cards, I am guaranteed that I'm going to succeed at this. So we'll draw this. We'll add it over there. And we will succeed at vanquishing the bug. Tough as the planet itself. Well, not anymore. And we managed to wrench some spikes off this bug and add them to our rig. So we flip those, exhausted, into our rig over there. We've added some spiky things off that scorpion bug creature. We discard these 2 juice cards and we press on. I really need some distance. So let's draw that. It is a tunnel. There is some distance. So now this is a bit of a push your luck element. That could add an extra distance into the distance stack. But if I fail it, I'm very likely to lose the game because I will be discarding 2 hope. So do I take a risk? You know what? Let's go for it. I am going to take the risk. I'm going to draw that card, and that was not what I needed to see. I had a feeling that might happen. Oh dear. Now I could have mathed that out a bit more carefully, but I decided to just plow on. And it did not pay off. So, tunnel, they hunt in dark places and they find their prey, which is me today. So we discard 1 heat, goes over there. Bloop. We postpone 1 heat, so we pick that up and put it at the bottom of the deck, which is now the deck of 1. And we discard the tunnel. So we snuck into the tunnel and we got attacked by something. We're not quite sure what. I discard 2 hope, so that is the end of the hope deck. I have stacked quite a lot of juice cards over here, which is rather useful. But now at any time, if I would discard hope, game over, I lose. I have run out of hope, potentially. I'm on my last tether. So now we will draw this card, add it to the encounter slot, and now I hope I draw some juice cards so that I can add that to the distance stack. So we'll draw this, and now I can do some card counting. And I can see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 juice cards. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 heat. So I have stacked this deck with a lot of juice, so my chances of succeeding at future encounters are pretty high. Let's hope for the best. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. You're encouraged to not look at the deck while you shuffle it because of the fact that you've got those heat and hope cards. You don't want to stop shuffling when a card you want is on top. You want to make sure it's truly random, like that. Not looking at the deck, I now have a hope card on top. I can draw that and add it over here. Guaranteed juice, so very likely to succeed over there. Boom. Good stuff. Let's press on. Really hope for the best. And it's a heat. Oh, bothersome. So now we check for a bad outcome. Bad outcome happens. Which means we discard that heat. We discard 1 strength, so our strength reserves are getting pretty low as well. And we discard the gap. Oh dear. Right. Pressing on. I need to get some distance built up to encounter this. Okay, there are some tracks. I don't think I can risk it. This is going to add 2 distance to my stack over there. But if I fail, and chances of failing are high because that is a heat, let me use my map that I found in the wreck to discard the top card of the draw stack. I will exhaust that, discard that card over there. Now I don't have to worry about that. And now I revealed a hope, which is definitely a juice. So I'm going to succeed at this. Yay. Draw that. Done. We've built up 2 juice. We can now add that over to there. So now we're at 7 distance. We just need 2 more and we can travel to the safe haven. But first, We resolve these in the correct order. So we discard one juice, goes into the discard pile. And then we postpone the other one. So that's quite nice. We've just put a hope at the bottom of the deck. Very useful. And that then gets added to the distance stack. And we press on. A tunnel. And once again, hope on top. +1. There is a juice. Good outcome, resolves. Yay. Discard that. Add that to the distance stack. Boom. We just need one more distance. And that's not a distance. A phantom. Eternal holograms from a final war. Ooh. Use hollow to postpone the top card in the encounter slot if we add that as an item. I think I'm just going to evade that because I need distance. Distance is the name of the game. And I drew that, which is not a distance. Oh dear. Okay, I have to evade this one. If I fail, if I draw another heat and I fail at this, I discard a hope. Game over. So I'm going to have to evade this. Sadly, which means, oof, I'm playing with fire here. Okay, that's not too bad. So now this is a bad outcome. I look over here, there are 2 heat built up, and I postpone both of them. So they both go to the bottom of the deck. And then I discard the bot. So everything kind of resets. Let's hope for a rest coming up soon. And that is the opposite of rest. Oh no, more tox. Oh dear, oh well, lose strength. Like so. Discard the tox. Now, this is a hope card on top of my deck. So that's definitely a juice. What I'm going to do is I'm going to encounter the outpost rather than drawing this card. So I'm going to put this outpost down over here because I've got at least 3 distance. Then I'm going to press on. I'm going to make my way to the outpost. Flip that over. 1 juice, all good. And now I can add the outpost to my rig as an item. So I'll put that in there, exhausted. So it doesn't help me immediately, but hopefully I draw that rest card soon. Unless, am I being an idiot and I haven't remembered that I've drawn the rest card already? No, I haven't. Okay, so the rest card is still coming. If I draw the rest, all of these things activate. There is a refinery. Well, there's no reason not to press on that one, I think, because that is 3 distance and nothing terrible will happen. So let's go for it. There is a juice, good stuff. There is a juice, good stuff. So that's 2 juice. We discard both of them. We add the refinery over there. Now I can choose to encounter the mem bank over there. Fading mem banks winking under the shield. Okay, so now I can see the safe haven. I've got it in my sights and I'm almost there. I can choose to encounter that now, but I know I'm going to draw heat, which means it would definitely fail. You know what? I'm actually going to encounter it because the negative outcome here isn't too bad. So I'm going to encounter that. I've built up enough distance to deal with it. I'm going to draw that, which goes over there. So now there's a heat. Not so great, but oh well. And what this symbol means is I must now discard a card from the stack over here. So now I will postpone this heat. Remember there were 2 heat cards there, so I've got 3 heat cards at the bottom of this deck. And then I discard 1 card from my distance stack. And I'll just discard this, let's see, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to discard this tracks card because then I've still got the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 distance I need in order to encounter this again. And I've just added a juice back into my deck. So then that goes back up to the top there. And now I can choose to pull it back down again, or I can press onto something else. What I'm going to rather do is press on. I'm going to draw a card here. There's that rest, thank goodness. Okay, so I can activate all my parts. Very, very good. Discard the rest. Then I will naturally draw this, because this is a hope. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to plan a little bit here. So I'm going to draw this over here, and that goes there. Now I will evade this nest, skulls and bones worn of hungry offspring. Ooh, yeah, so I skirt away from that, thank you very much. Evade that card. Now I will encounter the mem, and I see I've got a hope card on top. I will draw that hope card. Boom. 2 juice, positive outcome. I now add the mem over here to the distance stack. Discard the 2 juice. And that is the end of the first run. I have just succeeded at stage 1 of this 3-part game. That should give you a really good sense of how the game plays. You've seen all the elements there are for it. I'll quickly touch on what you do at the end of a run. We come over to this sat map card and we move up the little indicator to safe haven number 1. In order to win the game in its entirety, we have to reach safe haven number 3. You'll see here that we have this additional location deck, and we have got area number 2, followed by area number 3. And then once you get to the very end, you have completed the game in its entirety. But you don't have to immediately press on. So right now, I've reached safe haven number 1. I finally made my way to the mem banks, and I pulled under the shield, and I have found a safe haven. I can rest, I can recuperate, I can repair my rig, I can build up my hope and my strength reserves, and I can be ready to face the next run. So what you do at the end of the run is we grab these 3 Ziploc bags that have a pause, a retired, and a reserves card in each. Now what we do is we take any green backed cards, which are the location-specific cards. So that would be this wreck, this outpost, and the mem banks. And we put all of those into retired, so we won't encounter those cards again. So those go into this retired bag. Then we pick up all the cards in our deck and our discard pile, and everything in our rig. We combine them all together, we separate all of the starting deck cards and the strength and hope cards, so I'll speed that up quickly. We then take all of these cards along with our location deck and we add them into this bag behind the pause card. So we've got this pause card over here. We put that on top of the deck there. We slip that into its little baggie. And now we are ready to go for the next run. To play the next run, you'll simply follow the standard setup rules and away you go. You'll see that we have this reserve deck over here, and that has additional strength cards and hope cards. And you'll pull from those as you proceed into the future runs. So there's a huge amount of replayability and variability in the cards and the encounters you will interact with each game. So there you have the Deadeye, a fantastic little solo adventure card game of hand management, deck building, and press your luck. And with that, I'll say thank you ever so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the show.